From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
And good evening here at 7 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starantino. Storm Team meteorologist Kyle Mounts joins us now with our first look at our forecast. And rainy out there, Kyle.
Yeah, raining and some thunderstorms in parts of central Indiana. Now, I want to tell you that we're not anticipating severe weather. It's really going to be about the heavy rain for us, and we already have some of that falling here. Moving into Tipton right now with some rumbles of thunder back through Frankfort, some heavy rainfall that stretches into Crawfordsville. And this is all kind of moving over the same locations here, so already providing some heavy rainfall. This is going to be moving through Lebanon. Light rain at this time in the Hendricks County area. As we look down to the south, light to moderate rain for us. But again, as we check out TrueCast this evening into the overnight, we continue with rain and thunderstorms. And notice this band of rain from around Bloomington, Indianapolis to Muncie doesn't move a whole lot as we go into the early morning hours of tomorrow. So we could see 1 to 3 inches of rain, maybe a little bit more than that in a few locations. So even though it's been dry, flooding is going to be a possibility. Make sure you avoid any of that standing water that you come across. We'll talk more about those specific amounts in a few minutes.
New at 7, federal and local law enforcement are introducing a new initiative to reduce domestic violence in Indianapolis. It's named after Officer Breanne Leith, an IMPD officer who was shot and killed while responding to a domestic disturbance in April. The Leith initiative will focus on domestic violence offenders who commit crimes with illegally possessed firearms, targeting them for federal prosecution. And IMPD, the ATF, and the U.S. Attorney's Office are working together for the initiative. They also plan to support domestic violence survivors by connecting them with local agencies.
Officials cite rising domestic violence rates during the pandemic as one of the reasons for the Leith initiative. It's something advocates predicted would happen. WRTV's Stephanie Wade speaks with a forensic nurse at Methodist Hospital about what they're seeing now.
A startling statistic tonight. The Indiana Coalition Against Domestic Violence has reported the number of deaths related to domestic violence in our state has increased by 86% compared to this time last year. A rate forensic nurse Julie Morrison can attest to.
For me, just actually in the hospital, I still worry about the increase in violence. I mean, it's just kind of a pressure cooker right now. It really is.
A forensic nurse at IU Health Methodist Hospital, Morrison, like other advocates, were worried how the pandemic would impact ongoing domestic violence.
At the end of March with the stay at home, we knew something bad is going to happen because for people in abusive situations, at least they had that reprieve maybe when the abuser went to work.
As job loss, health concerns over the virus, kids at home and not in school, all colliding.
Kind of all the factors that worsen domestic violence or intimate partner violence, just exacerbated by this pandemic, those same kind of things, financial insecurity, losing jobs, and we knew this is going to be potentially bad with people being stuck at home together.
Whereas people were not coming to the hospital in the beginning of the pandemic.
At the end of March is when the stay-at-home orders started. We saw 46 assault patients. Looking back at 2019, we saw 71.
She says they are now coming in droves. Methodist seeing a significant spike in cases from last year and a large increase just since March alone.
For me and for Silent No More, it has been a drastic increase in calls and in services that are needed.
Nonprofits like Silent No More and emergency shelters are working double time to find people safe housing, but with limited resources, as shelters operate at limited capacity because of COVID.
It's been extremely tough, and as a survivor, I just don't I don't know how I would have been able to do it if I didn't have an organization who was open. 9 times out of 10, I probably would have stayed just because, the resources are so scarce.
As the need only increases and situations become more dire.
To those victims, try to keep them encouraged as much as possible. Know that there are survivors out here that are willing to walk with you and walk through that experience with you, so that way you're not alone.
Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
And tonight we're getting a look at Indiana's preliminary plan for a possible COVID-19 vaccine. The plan, which has been submitted to the CDC, includes phases depending on how many doses are available. All phases are set to start with healthcare workers receiving vaccines first, followed closely by those who are at increased risk or living in long-term care facilities. You can find the complete draft of the plan right now at WRTV.com. And today, the State Department of Health reported an additional 48 COVID-19 deaths that took place between October 8th and yesterday. That is the biggest increase in reported deaths since the end of May. Indiana is one of dozens of states seeing a rise in new infections. Camila Bernal shows you why experts think family gatherings are contributing to this fall surge.
COVID-19 numbers once again climbing back up across the country.
The numbers are moving in the wrong direction.
The U.S. has now topped 220,000 COVID deaths, a number some experts worry may also begin to climb faster.
At the very least, assume everyone you come in contact with is asymptomatically infected and contagious. Assume that, and then wear masks and social distance.
Hospitalizations also on the rise, with at least 14 states reporting peak hospitalization numbers in the last week. And it could get worse.
Over the next 5 or 6 months, I think up through February or March of next year, we are heading into the worst part of this pandemic for this country.
And as the holidays approach, many doctors asking people to be extra careful.
Avoiding large gatherings of families, because we've seen a lot of family transmission.
Meanwhile, the NIH director says we may have to wait longer for a vaccine.
I would think it's very unlikely, given the timetables and the standards that have to be followed, that you will hear about an emergency use authorization before late November at the earliest.
But even once a vaccine is available, public trust remains a question.
Public health entirely hinges on public trust, and specifically trust in our top government scientists.
I'm Camila Bernal reporting.
People across the state don't seem to mind standing in long lines for hours to make their voices heard at the polls. New this year in Marion County, voters may be tapping their toes while they wait. WRTV's Cameron Riddle shows you how professionals struggling to make ends meet during the pandemic are finding a new audience among early voters.
When you go vote early in Marion County, the wait times can be long. But in the shadow of the city-county building is musical relief and live entertainment.
Because I have nothing to live for.
The venues that we normally sing at, like the Jazz Kitchen, the Chatterbox, we don't know when they're going to open. We don't know when we're going to have the opportunity to do that. So the fact that there are other ways for us to be able to do it is going to be fantastic.
Goldie Taylor is one of 85 Indianapolis-based performers hosting 100 free live shows to an audience of early voters.
My lips, my eyes, I'm loving what I see. I'm not the average girl on your video.
Thanks to the pandemic, the show in Lugar Plaza is the first paying gig many of the singers, musicians, and bands have had in months.
I'm sitting here and I'm resting my bones.
This is all I do for a living, so it's barely making ends meet. Everybody knows musicians are starving musicians. This opportunity, it doesn't matter what it pays, it's just the fact that we're able to get out and do something, especially when the community they're out here and they can tell that we can tell that the music is soothing them.
Karin Haley is the executive director of the Indianapolis Cultural Trail, which runs through Lugar Plaza. She came up with the idea of live music after seeing the long lines to vote.
I think everyone was, very pleasantly surprised with how many people were coming out to vote early, and the line in Lugar Plaza just kept getting longer and longer and longer.
The live music here in Lugar Plaza is not something you normally see here in Indianapolis. I voted this past Friday and spent 90 minutes standing here in line. That's when I first saw Goldie. Her music made all the difference.
I've been talking about Friday since I finished Friday. I went home, I was cheering to my sister. I was like, you just don't understand, it was so wonderful.
Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
Cameron, thank you. In the first 14 days, more than 21,000 Hoosiers voted early in Marion County. You can learn more about early voting and other important deadlines at WRTV.com/election2020.
More people are going hungry during the pandemic, but one woman is trying to change that by bringing food to where it's needed the most. How she's doing it and how you can help.
1 in 7 Hoosiers are hungry and facing food insecurity, a need that has only grown during the pandemic.
But one woman has started a community effort dedicated to working together to curb hunger pains where food is needed most. WRTV's Troy Washington explains how Indy Community Pantry works.
Meet DeAndrea Rayner.
Since COVID started, I thought this would be a good idea for less contact with people that needed food.
She's the woman giving unused newspaper stands a new purpose.
I've seen like the empty newspaper stands around the city, and I was like, that'd be a great idea for food. So I reached out to people and they donated to them. I have local artists that paint them, and I just leave them in food.
And just like that, the Indy Community Pantry got its start.
The first one was, I want to say, in August, and now I have a total of 6 of them.
She's even put out a community fridge, but she explains she must follow requirements from the health department to operate it. Rayner says the other boxes are low maintenance and they make a major difference.
It just blew up. So now when I come fill them, like, it'd be people sleep next to it, because they know that somebody's going to come and refill it and they want to be the first one there.
The pandemic made her realize the need.
It's so many homeless people, not even necessarily homeless, somebody that's short with, they can't afford to get food. They know that they can come to Empty Pantry and grab some food like that. Like, I love being part of it. I love that people are reaching out to me and wanting to help. I just wanted to do something good for the people. I never thought that it would get to where it is now.
And she isn't done working yet, though it's getting easier to do the work knowing there are people ready to help.
People take their kids out to refill them. People call and ask for all the locations so they can refill them. I have people call, like, what days can I go help you refill this, or do you need anything? So it's just like an ongoing thing, like blessings and blessings.
Working for you downtown, Troy Washington, WRTV.
And find out how you can help with this effort when you read this story on WRTV.com. We've also listed the locations for the community pantry.
Since September 1st, we're about 3.5 inches below average on rainfall, but we are going to put a big dent in that tonight. We already are tracking rain and thunderstorms. How much you can expect at your house coming up. You're watching WRTV News at 7.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
Welcome back. Some students in Bartholomew County will now ride on what could be the school bus of the future. Today, the Bartholomew Consolidated School Corporation received an electric school bus from the Bluebird Company. It's not just a simple electric bus. It's got vehicles to grid capabilities. That's technology that helps return any unused electricity to help power companies manage their supply. One driver tried out the bus, and here's what she thought.
The biggest difference is the noise. You don't hear anything. I can actually hear the children's conversations. And, it's real smooth. It rides real smooth.
The bus was paid for by a grant that came from Indiana's settlement with Volkswagen over the company's cheating on emission standards for its cars.
Well, kids at the bus stop tomorrow morning probably going to want to take along the umbrella here, as we're going to still have that wet weather in central Indiana. Temperatures are cool out there this evening. We're in the upper 40s in Tipton and Peru. It's 56 in Bloomington, but numbers will actually continue to rise here as we have this rain and thunderstorm activity moving through. Take you in for a little closer view here, and you can see the rainfall rate in Clinton County, just south of Frankfort. Right now, it's a little under a ½ inch per hour, but it was above an inch per hour as some of these higher orange returns moved on through and around Tipton. That thunderstorm's now starting to pull away, but you've got quite a bit of rain coming your way. Crawfordsville, the rain tapering off temporarily. And as we look down to the south, we've got some moderate rain here from around Brazil into Sullivan. It's a little more on the light side from around Martinsville through Hendricks County and now spreading into the Indianapolis area. Rain chances, they will be fairly high for us here as we go into tonight. So most areas are going to be seeing some rainfall. As you look at TrueCast at 9:30 this evening, we've got rain, we've got thunderstorms. We still have that at 1 a.m. and this line that stretches from around Sullivan through Indianapolis to Muncie doesn't waver too much as we get to 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we're still dealing with some showers, especially central and southern portions of Indiana. And then as we go through the morning and into the early afternoon, the showers will move out, but we are still going to have quite a bit of cloud cover. Now, where we have those thunderstorms moving over some of the same locations, we could see in excess of 3 inches of rain. And that's the concern for us tonight into tomorrow morning. Even though it's been dry, that much rain in that little time can cause us some flooding issues. Tomorrow, temperatures, they continue their warming trend, though. We'll get into the middle and upper 60s for an afternoon high. That's where we should be, but we will actually continue to warm from there. As we look at this temperature roller coaster, we're close to 80 degrees on Thursday. Much cooler, though, for the upcoming weekend as we have another front that will move through. A look at the 7-day planning forecast shows a mild end to the week for us here, with high temperatures again around 80 by Thursday. Thursday, really the pick of the week here, as it should be dry for us. Then on Friday, much of the day will be dry, that high 75 degrees, and then we'll see rain moving back into the area Friday night, lasting into the first part of our Saturday here, but 54 degrees, so about a 20-degree drop from Friday afternoon to Saturday. We'll kind of level off from there, but rain is likely once again as we get into early next week. Mark?
Kyle, thank you. It's been a tough year for many when it comes to mental health, especially with life-altering situations like the coronavirus pandemic. As Maya Rodriguez tells us, one study finds that college students are not immune to those impacts.
It's been a strange time everywhere as COVID-19 upends how people normally live. That includes college students, many now in a hybrid form of learning, with some on campus and some on a computer at home, like Gregory Carnisi.
Something that I've been experiencing myself, something that I've heard my peers experiencing, is just this feeling of being overwhelmed because everything is online now.
Carnisi goes to Arizona State University, just one of the campuses in the U.S. where the nonprofit mental health organization Active Minds recently surveyed several thousand college students to see how they are faring in the time of COVID-19. Here's what they found. 1 in 4 students said their depression had significantly increased since the start of the pandemic. 89% of the students surveyed said they're experiencing stress or anxiety, and 56% said their daily activity had decreased or significantly decreased.
We have to remind people, you used to walk 3 miles a day to and from class, or you used to be out on the field running around for soccer practice, and you're not doing that right now. So how else can you fill that gap and that void for yourself?
Allison Malman with Active Minds says it's also important for colleges and universities to tailor student access to mental health services, since so many are no longer on campus as much.
We are still needing to promote access, and we are still needing to give people the supports that they need in the way that they are able to reach them.
But there were some positive findings in the survey. Nearly 2/3 of students said they have been helping support others with their mental health. And more than 77% of those surveyed said they feel optimistic about the future. Gregory Carnisi says he's just taking it one day at a time.
I really kind of think the best thing that's worked for me is just having grace and mercy with myself and just doing your best day to day, even if that best is just getting out of bed and like making yourself breakfast. Just like these basic things, that's enough.
As everyone keeps trying to find their way through these tough times, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
One candy company is looking to get people talking and keep trick-or-treaters safe this year with hands-free candy giveaway systems. The Reese's Trick-or-Treat door is designed to roll through neighborhoods via remote control and dispense peanut butter cups upon request. The 9-foot robotic contraption announces its presence with smoke, Halloween lights, and a spooky soundtrack. All you have to do is say trick-or-treat, and the door gives you a king-size package of Reese's peanut butter cups. You can ask for the Reese's Trick-or-Treat door to come to your town by messaging at Reese's on Instagram.
Can we do that right now, please?
I was going to say, while I talk weather, you guys work on that and make that happen right here to WRTV. All right, as we check out radar, it is going to be a busy night here. Some rumbles of thunder and some heavy rainfall. Some areas could have some localized flooding as we see in excess of an inch or two. There's a look at the forecast, though, as we go through the next several days. A mild end of the week with highs in the 70s and even around 80 there by Thursday.
Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. Our next newscast is tonight at 11.